Good morning, students. Today in grammar we are going to discuss about articles. Now previously in your previous classes standard 2, 3 and 4 you have read about articles a, an and the and their usage. A, an and the are three articles, and out of them a and an are called indefinite articles. Why are they called indefinite articles? Because you use them before a noun that you are speaking about for the very first time. For example, I saw a boy in the waiting room. You don't know which boy it is, right? You are just randomly picking out, and that's why spoken about it for the first time. The same logic goes for an. When you are talking about something, a boy or person or a place or a thing for the very first time, but the only difference is a is used before words beginning with a consonant sound, and an is used for words beginning with a vowel sound. Now the difference between consonants and vowels are, the consonants are spoken, the consonant sounds come when your mouth is fairly closed. For example, B, C, D, P, Q, T, S. When you speak these letters, your mouth is fairly closed. You need to use all of your mouth, and that's exactly why those sounds are called consonant sound. So, for example, a fax machine. When you say fax, your mouth is fairly closed, and that's exactly why it's a fax machine. Now coming to a unicorn. Why a unicorn? You might be coming at some U is a vowel letter, then why U is a vowel, then why shall I use a? It's not about the letter, it's more about its sound. Remember this. This is very easy to get confused when you are doing exercises about articles. Most of the time students get confused because they simply forget that they have to take care of the sounds and not the letters. The sounds that those letters produce, it defines whether that is a consonant or a vowel. When you say unicorn, the sound does not exactly come from U, it's rather comes from U. And that takes two letters, that is Y and U. And Y, as you know, is a consonant. That's exactly why a unicorn. Then the same logic goes for a 1 rupee note. Why here wow? Because the sound, O is of course a vowel, but the sound that produces is W. The first sound that comes out from our mouth is wow. So the W is a consonant, that's exactly why a 1 rupee note. There could be many more examples of this. For example, a jackal, a jackfruit, a tiara. For all these words, a shall be used because this all gives you a consonant sound. And a university, so the same logic goes for as unicorn. The sound that comes out is of YU and not just U. The same goes for a European. When you have to say about, say for example, you're talking to your friend and you're saying that you have seen a person who belongs to the Europe, you will have to say, I met a European. You cannot say I met an European thinking that E is a vowel, so it should be an. No, that's wrong, because the sound that produces is the YU. Alright? So remember that it's more about the sound that it produces rather than being about the letter. Now, for an, before words beginning with a vowel sound. Vowel sounds are produced with our mouths being fairly open. We don't have to use, touch. Your tongue doesn't have to touch all the parts of your mouth. That's when a vowel sound is produced. For example, when you say for example, I spy. Okay, when you say I spy, for I, your mouth is fairly open. For the next word, that is spy, your mouth is fairly closed. So, I spy, if you keep on practicing that, you will understand what's the difference between these two sounds and how is this produced. So, an example, an opera or an opera house, for example. So, over here, when you say opera, the O sound does not require mouth to close. That's exactly why it takes an as its article. Same logic goes for an hour. Now, it might be confusing for you that H is a consonant, but when you speak this word, when you pronounce this word, you keep H in its silent form. And the same logic goes for honest as well. For pronouncing honest, you don't exactly take the H. You simply omit it out. Although it is there in its spelling, but in pronunciation, it's nowhere. And that's what we call a H silent. Whenever you have words that have H as its beginning word, H as its first letter, and still it is not being pronounced, that's when you have to use an, because it goes next to O, which is a vowel. I hope it is clear to you. Let's come to the. The is called a definite article. Why is it called a definite article? Because we use them for particular things. Whenever we are talking about a particular person, place or thing, we use the article the. So that makes it a definite article. Now the has various usage. Number one, it is used before the plural nouns. You will say a boy, but whenever you make it boys, when you make the plural of the boy, it will automatically transform its article from a to the. Okay, when you say the boys, that's when you know which boys you're talking about. You're talking about a particular group of people, that's why the boys. So a particular thing or place, you can say the Buckingham Palace. The Buckingham Palace is one in the whole world. You're talking about this particular house. When you say houses or buildings or monuments, that's when you might not have to use the article the. But when you say the Buckingham Palace, when you say the London Bridge, or when you say the Big Ben, that's when you have to use the article the, because they are only one of its own kind in the whole world. It can also be used before a representative noun. A representative noun represents of its whole kind. Okay, this represents its whole kind. For example, when you say the fox is a cunning animal, that's when you are actually generalizing. We have this notion about foxes that they are cunning, they are shrewd. So when you say the fox, that's when you're talking about actually the I would say the general characteristics of the animal. Okay. The same logic goes for the neem. The neem tree is medicinal in nature. All the neem trees of the whole world are medicinal in nature. Doesn't matter whether they are in India or Africa. Wherever they go, they will have those medicinal value instilled in them. It's not going to change. That's exactly why it is representing its own kind, and that's why the fox, the neem tree. Okay? Now, we can also use it before unique things. What are unique things? They are one of its own kind. When there is none other than the same noun in the world. For example, the Himalayas, you will not find it in any other, I would say, continent. It is found only in the Asian continent. That's why the Himalayas. The Taj Mahal, that's in Agra in India, and that's one of the 7 wonders of the world, and obviously it is one of its own kind. There is not going to be another Taj Mahal. That's why the Taj Mahal. Similarly, the moon. There is only one natural satellite to our earth, and it is the moon. So it is one of its own kind. We may send many, I would say, man-made satellites, but that's not going to be called the moon. Because moon is one, that is one natural satellite. Alright? Now, it can also be used before some proper nouns, which has a relation with the unique things as well. Rivers, the Nile, the Ganges, okay? The Amazon. So you can you have to use the article the before them. Reason being, I would say this is a proper noun and it represents a certain kind of its own. Holy books and newspapers. Holy books, as you know, there are many holy books of different people belonging to different religion. For example, for Hindus, it is the Gita. For Muslims, it is the Quran. For Sikhs, it is the Granth Sahib. So, whenever you take the name of the holy books, you need to use the article the. You might have seen for newspapers, if whenever you search for them, or whenever you have come across anything that includes the name of the newspaper, there would be an article named the over here. That's how it is. That's how, because they also, that's one of its own kind. Times of, when you say the Times of India, there's only one newspaper of its own kind which we call Times of India. If there are 4 English newspapers coming to your house and your father asks you to get the Times of India, you get the Times of India itself. You don't get the India Today or you don't get the other paper. That's exactly why the logic is to use the article the before them. Oceans and seas, the Pacific Ocean, the Caspian Sea, the Dead Sea. Now for these also you use the article the. There are many other proper nouns before which the is used, such as the girls and the bees, and that's that. So I hope you have had an understanding of where to use the indefinite articles a or an, and where to use the definite article the. And I hope this helps you with learning grammar. Thank you.